financial update on our performance through our first 6 months of this fiscal year. I do want to take an opportunity to introduce the board members that are here. There will be some comments to start out from our club president, and then, okay. I've been asked to ask all of you to turn off your cell phones. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good housekeeping point. If I may, to get back, I'd like to introduce the board members that are here, and after Greg Jones, our club president's comments, I will then have a moment I want to introduce to all of you and tell you a bit about all of our senior management team here at Fairfield Glade that makes a lot of this happen. So if I may, we have our club president, Greg Jones, present. Our vice president, Scott Hardeman. Our treasurer, Bruce Horn. M.K. Jacobson is an at-large board member. And I do not, if I'm missing a board member, I don't believe. I know Monica is not here, at-large board member, nor is Ellen Anderson or Barb Storer could not be here today. But just thank you all for being here. And at this point, I will turn it over to Club President Greg Jones.
Thanks a lot, Bill. You guys may have heard of something about a Windham announcement last week. I know that's probably the last thing on your minds, but we're going to talk about this and get it out of the way here at the front part of this, because this meeting is really not about Windham. It's really about our financial results. We may have done something different had we known about this long before we scheduled this meeting, but we didn't. So can you go ahead and move the slide, or is it up here? Where? Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you what we know, I'll tell you what we're doing, and I'll tell you what we're not doing. So July 9th, literally, we got a phone call about an hour, about 9 o'clock in the morning from Windham, and basically said that they're ceasing operations at the end of the year in 2025, and that all employees would be terminated upon that date. That's the only things we heard. There was no prior notice. We had not heard anything. As a matter of fact, the employee I was talking to, who was fairly high up in Windham, that person had not heard anything either until it was announced just the hour before. So people that think that we had all prior knowledge of this, just not true. On July 14th, we have some updates that are numbers that will help you hopefully better understand the scope of this. There are 387 physical units that are impacted by this. That's the number of timeshare units that Windham has here. The Club Windham, which is the division that runs the timeshares for the Windham Corporation, will be talking with the timeshare owners. We have no relationship between those two. Okay, I want to be real clear with that, because people are saying, well, why aren't you over there doing this? Why aren't you doing over there doing that? Fact is, we can't. We have no relationship. We don't own anything over there, and they need to figure out what they're going to do first before we can do a whole lot. Just so you know, there's two classes of ownership here. 70% are what are called Club Windham deeds. That means that they're deeded at the Club Windham level, and they can go wherever they want within Windham properties to use the Windham timeshares. 30% are deeded here, and they're considered Fairfield Glade property deed owners or timeshare deed owners. They will have an opportunity, Windham's already announced this, that they will give those people an opportunity to trade their Fairfield Glade membership to a Club Windham membership at no cost. So some of them, I'm sure, will want to be doing that. When Windham comes and talks about options to the timeshare owners, they will go through all of that, and then at some point after those meetings, the timeshare owners will get an opportunity to vote on what option or options they want to do. Again, we will not be involved in any of that. So what is not included? Most of the golf packages and this is important for you to understand, do not stay in the timeshares. There's a group that does, it's called Stay to Play, but most of the timeshares package, I'm sorry, most of the golf packages stay in the condos. That's not part of Windham. So from that perspective, we shouldn't see a big impact on that. There are 1,250 lots at Windham, actually it's 1,251 lots that Windham owns. Those are not included in this. They're going to continue to pay assessments on those, and they will continue to own those. They will continue to vote those. So everyone needs to understand that in September, there will be an integral owner, or an integral board member that will be seated, because as of September, everything's just exactly as it is today. Until they cease operations, there's no difference in terms of how they're operating. Let's go to the next one. So what are we doing? We are working with legal counsel. As you can imagine, there's a lot of questions that we have to go through. And a lot of them have to do with what our governance documents say, what the relationship is with Windham, between the Windham and the Fairfield Glade Community Club. And we're looking at all of that, and we're looking at the legal relationship between Windham and ourselves very particularly. I can't tell you a whole lot about that yet because we just talked to the attorney yesterday. And he's starting to go in and start taking a look at all that. And as soon as we get information, we'll make sure you're aware of it. We are doing some financial modeling. From this perspective, we're in the middle of the budget process, or really starting that, I should say. And as we're going to have to look at different scenarios. I'm not going to tell you what those are because we don't have enough information really to build what the most likely or most likely kind of scenario we'll have to look at. And as we find out information and we can do some of that, we'll make sure that we share it with the membership. And we are looking at various budgeting options. We're going to be talking next week at our meetings about, where our spend is, what we need to be looking at, and then we'll open up all of that for conversation at the board level. What we are also doing is we will start talking about some transition activities, but again, with that, we can't do much with that because, again, we don't know what the end result's going to be. So, again, these are a lot of questions we have. We don't have many answers, but how this starts playing out will impact us a lot in terms of what we're going to do. And then finally, we have one job to do, and that's keep you people informed. Yeah, I know this is an impact. It was a surprise to us. I know it was a surprise to you. So we're going to continue to work with people, and as we get information, we'll make it available. What we're not doing, we're not going to deal in speculative kinds of activities. That does us no good, it doesn't do Windham any good, and certainly doesn't do the timeshare owners any good. We have to remember what our role is. Yes, they are members through their membership in the timeshares, but we're not owners of what they have. So we have to stay in our swim lane, and that means that we have to wait in some cases to find out what they're telling themselves and what they're going to do before we know how to even react to some of it. And then finally, we're not going to get in front of where Windham and the timeshare holders are in their process. We've heard that sometime in early August is when they're going to have a Zoom call between the club Windham group and the members. We don't know that specifically, at what date or that type of thing, but as we get information from them, we will try to get that passed on as appropriately. Now, there's some things that probably Windham will say you can't say. There was a rumor going around, and still is, about multiple Windham properties that are involved with this. When we did the announcement, or the one on July 14th, originally we had put into there a number that we heard. Windham took it out. So what that tells you is that some of that is still rumor, and you've got to be very careful because we don't want to get the club in the middle of a Windham timeshare issue. It's not ours to do. Now, we will take care of the club, and we'll make sure that we understand what the impacts are, and we will be working with Windham at the appropriate time to get through all of that. But now we have to wait for them to do some things. So that's really all we wanted to say about the Windham situation today. That's really pretty much what we know. Anything else would be conjecture and speculative, and we're not going to get into that right now. And we want to make sure that you understand this meeting is really on the financials. If you have questions about Windham, don't wait till the end of the meeting and ask them in a public forum. Come up to some of us after the meeting. We'll try to answer what we can. But we're not going to go much past these two slides because this is really about all we know. Okay? So, Bill, I'm going to let you take it.
Okay, thank you, Greg. And, excuse me? We're not taking those questions at this time. Okay, we're not taking those questions right now. I thought we just made it clear. We're not taking, if you could save yourself till the, in respect to all here, till the end of the meeting. Okay. Again, we're not getting into speculation. I don't, your comments are yourselves. Again, that is your opinion, ma'am. I'm trying to be respectful. That is not why we're here today. I would like to now move forward to the focus of today's meeting, which is our financial performance year to date. And I would like to introduce our senior management team and give you some information about them that I think you will find to be, I think, is important to know. They will be introduced in order of tenure in service to Fairfield Glade Community Club. And with that, I would like to introduce Pat Davis, who's the administrative executive. Pat came on board at Fairfield Glade in April of 1978. She has served consecutively here at Fairfield Glade for 47 years. And as I said, she is the executive administrator and oversees the administrative office operations on a day-to-day basis. Next, I'd like to introduce Jeff Houston. Jeff? Jeff started his employment at Fairfield Glade in October of 1999. He is approaching his 26th year anniversary. He has served for the past 9 years, almost in a few more months, 10 years, as our director of golf. Jeff is in charge of all aspects of our golf operations. That totals 57 full-time employees, 3 part-time employees, and 147 seasonal employees. He oversees a total payroll of $4.2 million annually, as well as total revenue of $8.6 million. Next, I'd like to introduce William Taylor. Is William here today? Yes, William? William joined Fairfield Glade in March of 2011. He's been here 14 years, approaching 14 and a half years. He's been the director of racket sports since December of 2017. He oversees 10 employees and has annual revenue of $427,500 and annual expenses of $324,000. Next, I'd like to introduce Bruce Evans. Bruce joined Fairfield Glade in April of 2011. He served for over 10 years as the director of sewer and wastewater, as you all know mostly, and as of the first of this year, has been in the position of director of all aspects of public works. That includes the sewer department, roads and bridges and sanitation department, facility maintenance department, the architectural control office, as well as the marinas. That totals 39 full-time employees, 1 part-time employee, and 28 seasonal employees. The wastewater sewer department has an annual budget of $3.2 million, including revenue, with total expenses of $2.7 million. Our roads, bridges, sanitation, facilities maintenance, and AC office combined total $788,000 in annual revenue, with total expenses of $4.2 million. The marinas have a 28 seasonal employees with an annual budget of $479,000 in revenue per year and $278,000 in expenses. So as you can see, Bruce has quite a large amount of responsibility and does one heck of a job for us. I'd next like to introduce Mary Jo Page. Mary Jo Page is our Director of Marketing and Events. She has been with us since May of 2013, 12 years. And she oversees the marketing department, which is a total revenue income in marketing through our contributors and community sponsors, $416,000 in revenue with an operating expenses of $831,000. The center, as well as the pools and events, she oversees as well, which is a total of 7 full-time employees, 29 part-time employees, and 22 seasonal employees with annual expenses revenue of $525,000 a year and $1.1 million in expenses. Next, I'd like to introduce Kate Self. Chief Kate. Kate joined us in October of 2015. She is approaching her 10-year anniversary, been with us 9 years, 9 months, and the past 3 years has served admirably as our Chief of Police. Kate oversees 19 full-time employees in the police department, as well as 1 part-time employee, with an annual budget of $2 million per year. Shannon Turner. Shannon joined us in February of 2023, and she is our communications coordinator and assists with all of our communication outreach and initiatives that we do, and is continuing to grow in that position and is doing a wonderful job for us with that. Candace Neely. Candace is our Director of Human Resources, and Candace joined us last fall in September. So she's been with us 10 months and oversees the Department of 3 for Human Resources, but obviously the entire human resource services that we provide from a service training standpoint, legal aspects, employee relations, and so forth. Jason Lambert. Jason came on board last October. He's been with us 9 months as our certified Chief Financial Officer, and you'll be hearing more from Jason here shortly. And I also like to introduce Linda James, who is with us here. Linda is through Bobby Jones Links, is serving as the Food and Beverage Director here and has been with us coming up on her 1-year anniversary. And they have a total annual budget revenue of $3.5 million in food and beverage revenue annually here at Fairfield Glade. So that is my introductions. At this point, I would like to turn it over to Jason Lambert for his presentation. Thank you, Jason. He'll be going through this in detail through this year, and it's also available in our annual budget. So.
Good afternoon. So my name is Jason Lambert. Excuse me, my voice from being sick is just starting to come back. But my name is Jason Lambert. I'm the CFO. I'm also a licensed CPA. I hold licenses in the state of Tennessee as well as the state of Virginia. Spent most of my career in club business. So this is not a new foray for me in terms of club, but this is new for me in terms of the scale and size of Fairfield Glade, which in my opinion would be probably considered an unincorporated municipality. And there's a lot of moving parts. This is a very complex organization. The SMTs that Bill had mentioned earlier, we on a daily basis are dealing with issues and struggles and wins also that normally are not found in the club world. So this is something that is unique and very new for me, but I thoroughly enjoy everything that's happening, and I learn something new every single day. So let's get into the financials. One of the things I wanted to make sure that the membership understood is our structure. What is actually the structure of Fairfield Glade? So we, as an organization, are actually a nonprofit. We are a 501c4 nonprofit organization. According to the IRS, we are a tax-exempt organization that is operated exclusively for the promotion of social welfare, meaning they primarily promote the common good and general welfare of the community. So therefore, we, in May of 1999, notified the IRS and received approval to operate as a nonprofit. What this actually means is that we do not pay income tax on our earnings, but we do pay tax. So we pay sales tax, we pay employment tax. Any other tax that is outside of the income tax, we are still obligated and do pay to the state, federal, and local jurisdictions. Another misconception that I've noticed on, and I hate to say it, but I go on Nextdoor and I see a lot of the postings. My goal is to not be on Nextdoor after this presentation. But we will see how it goes. The HOA, one of the definitions that I see on Nextdoor is that are we an HOA or are we a POA? And there is a distinct difference between the two. An HOA is a nonprofit organization that manages, maintains, and enforces rules for a specific residential community. That kind of fits our definition, but it goes further. Often a subdivision or condominium complex. So we do have HOAs within our POA, but we are not an HOA. We are actually a POA. So Fairfield Glade Community Club is organized as a nonprofit and as a property owners association. So what does a POA mean? It's an organization that manages and regulates property within a defined area. Often encompassing more than just residential properties, POAs can include commercial, industrial, and mixed-use developments. Unlike HOAs, which focus primarily on residential communities, POAs aim to improve overall community, boost property values, and facilitate development, sometimes working with local governments and businesses. So that is our definition, and that is how we operate as an organization. In terms of our financial reporting, we have three key distinct areas. As I mentioned earlier, we are organized as a POA. So we break down one of our reporting areas as a property owners association. We have 5 divisions within that. And within those divisions, we also have several departments. I can't add, I'm a CPA, but I know tax, but I can't add. So we have 8, 10, 16 departments within the 5 divisions. We also have a reporting entity where it's called amenities. We consolidate the 2 for POA and amenities. In terms of the amenities, this is food and beverage, the center which we are now, marinas, racket sports, and our golf. Within those divisions, we also have several key departments, all rolling up into the division, headed by the SMTs that Bill had mentioned earlier. And then we have a standalone, which is sewer, or wastewater treatment. According to CNRs, we have that separate. We do not consolidate the financial reporting for the sewer into the POA and amenities. We break that out separately. So the total revenue for the budget for the fiscal year 25, which also is a calendar year, our total revenue budget is 24 million, roughly 25 if you add it up or round it up. Sewer has approximately 3.5 million of revenue. And then our capital, which is another slide that membership doesn't really get to see except for the balance sheet, we have roughly 6 million. So we are roughly a 34 or $35 million operation every year, which is quite sizable if you think about it. From the POA side, club administration, this is where all the amenity revenue flows. So all the bills that you get on a monthly basis for amenities, this is where it flows to, which is our club administration POA. I'm just going to speak to the actual facts in terms of actuals versus budget and then a variance. So revenue for club administration, which included amenities I discussed earlier, we had actuals of 4.9 million year to date through June 30th, 2025. Based on a budget of 4.9, we had a small variance of $4,200 for the year. This is again through June 30th. Our payroll's roughly over $1 million. Year-to-date budget is 1.1, so we had a savings of $165,000 in our payroll. The net income figure is what's important. We have net income in our club administration year-to-date, $2.8 million. based on a budget of 2.7, so we're exceeding our budgeted expectations by approximately 120,000. The police department is part of our POA as well. We do not expect them to be a revenue generating division or department. They're here for the safety and security of the residents in the POA. So we do not anticipate for them to be self-sufficient. The revenue that you see year-to-date actual is mostly grant revenue. This grant revenue is hard for us to gauge. It's based on what Kate Self does, Chief Self, of soliciting organizations for grants, things like that. Some of them are for, compensation for payroll. It just depends what the grant is written for. We don't technically going to get the grant every single time. It's difficult for us to get grants, but we do get them. We have a budget of 43,000, what we anticipated for the year. We're slightly off by 18. But as you can see, the net income, so we, from a POA standpoint, we subsidize the police department year to date, 1.2 million, budget of 971. We had a variance of 235,000. This variance is a misnomer. What happened during our audit, we signed a contract with the cameras for the police department. We had to take a one-time charge at the point of the contract. We normally spread that over 12 months. We weren't allowed to do that in this regard. So we had to take an earlier charge against our expenses, which will level out as the year goes along. So this will change. Kate does a great job. Fire department. As you can see, there's not a lot of movement in the fire department. The $86,000 that we spent year to date is an expense on our end, but it's revenue for the fire department. These are donations that we as a POA make to the fire department for service. 86,000 is what the actuals were. Budget is 83. We had some small charges in reference to repairs and maintenance, things of that sort. We had a budgeted loss of 84,000 for the year. We actually have 87, which is a small variance of 3,000 for the fire department. Marketing and events. This is another division in the POA. They have several departments underneath them. Most of the revenue that goes in there are from the events. Year-to-date, actually, we had 203,000. Budget, 245. We're off budget. It's hard to anticipate who or when or what's going to happen. We do the best we can, anticipating based on previous years. We have a net income on marketing and events of a negative 208,000 against a budget of 165, which is a $43,000 variance in this division. Public Works, which is another part of our POA, which also rounds out the POA for us. We received revenue of 443,000, which is elevated or slightly higher than what we had budgeted. 388,000 was the budget, which is a positive variance of 55 for the year. Payroll is 964 against a budget of 947, slight variance of 16. Net income for Public Works is 1.4 million against a budget of 1.8, so we have a positive variance, negative 1.47 against a negative 1.8. So we have a positive variance of 398,000. Primarily, the 357,000 that you see as a positive variance is road maintenance, which has to do with when and where they can actually get in to repair and fix roads. This will change. This will actually go down as the invoices roll in and work is completed on our infrastructure. Now we get into the amenities. One of the first amenities that we're going to discuss is our food and beverage. This is managed by a third party, Bobby Jones Links. Linda James is the representative for them. Also the manager, which many of you have seen at Stonehenge. She does a fantastic job. Food and beverage through year to date, 2025. We had a budget, actuals of 1.4, almost 1.5 million. This does not also, this also includes all the turn shacks as well as Stonehenge Grill. So when we say food and beverage, it's all encompassing. And as Druid comes online next year, this will be another department within the division of food and beverage underneath the amenities. Year-to-date budget, we had a budget of $1.55 million. We had a negative variance of $66,000 for the year for food and beverage. If you break this out, Stonehenge Grill met revenue targets. Most of what the miss is from is a turn shack. The turn shack's mostly visited by people that are playing golf or at the clubhouse. This is what the miss is for the food and beverage. Cost of sales, $614 against a budget of $592. We had a $22,000 variance negative for our cost of sales. Payroll of $793 against a budget of $731. Therefore, our net income after our general and fixed expenses, we have a negative $224 against a budget of $46 for our food and beverage division. The center, which is where we're housed now, another amenity. We had revenue of $256,000. Year-to-date budget was $277,000. We had a miss slightly of $21,000. Payroll, $264,000 against a budget of $312,000. Substantial savings there of $48,000. After general and fixed expenses, we have a loss in the center of $272,000 against a budget of $313,000, which is a positive variance of $41,000. Marinas. Have two marinas, as many of you know, rent where they have slips, rent boats. They have you can buy toys at the beaches. Most of my my kids, it's like a candy store for them when they go to the beach. Most of that $203,000 is probably from me. You're welcome. So revenue for the marina is $203,000 against a budget of $226,000. I guess my kids need to step it up a little bit. $23,000 negative is the variance. Payroll $74,000 against a budget of $72,000. Our net income for our marinas, part of the amenities, is $49,000 against a budget of $61,000. We have a slight variance, $11,000 off budget. This is not alarming. I think this has to do with a lot with the seasonality, weather. We anticipate this to actually catch up and not be a concern. Racket Center. This community loves pickleball. Only heard one voice that said tennis. I'm just joking. Revenue is $209,000. Year-to-date budget $203,000. We had a positive variance of $5,800. Payroll is $106,000 against a budget of $111,000. It's positive $4,000. Net income of $41,000 against a budget of $30,000. We had a positive $11,000 in racket sports. Golf, which is one of our biggest amenities, contributes probably the most, and a lot of the other amenities combined. Revenue for golf, $3.7 million. Against a budget of $4 million, we had a $232,000 negative variance. Payroll of $2,051,000 against $2,080,000, which is a positive $29,000. Our net income for golf, which is a contribution, or as you can see, if it's positive, we are not subsidizing. It is self-sufficient. $81,000 positive net income against a budget of negative $34,000 for the year, which is a positive $116,000 year-to-date. Sewer and wastewater, as I mentioned, is the third leg of the stool, separate than the other POA and amenities. Revenue for year-to-date for sewer, $1.52 million against a budget of $1.588, which gives us a negative variance of $67,000. Payroll, $489 against $596. That's a very substantial positive variance of $106,000. Net income, $286 against a budget of $184. So we have $102,000 positive variance within our sewer wastewater treatment. So one of the things that the membership doesn't see from a net income standpoint or in the income statements is our capital contributions. These capital contributions are the amenity reserve fees. So when there's transfers of properties, everyone probably is aware that when you transfer a property, whether it's A, B, C lot, you pay a fee to Fairfield Glade. Amenity reserve contributions, this is 2% of the revenue for the amenities, excluding food and beverage. So 2% of all revenue goes into this bucket. And again, this does not include the food and beverage. So all the other amenities contribute to this. Recovery of bad debt is just, it is what it is in terms of being more aggressive in terms of non-paying accounts and going after just kind of the low-hanging fruit of bad debts that need to be either written off or contributed. Investment income, $138,000. This is idle cash that is sitting at the bank. This does not include the sewer or any type of the cash that sits in our operating account. This is just our savings. Gain or loss in property. This is when we sell a vehicle or we sell properties out of our own inventory. This is not a large number for us from the capital contribution side, but as things change and we sell more lots, this will increase. Lot merger fees are the fees that are charged by the lot committee to merge the lots, whether it's two or with your house or two empty lots, what have you. These are the fees that are paid by the membership to do that. Sanitation, this is part of the fee that goes from the amenities, goes into this capital bucket. And the capital assessments, which is our largest revenue generator, is 25% of all amenities go into this bucket. So when you pay $81 a month for your amenity fee as a member of Fairfield Glade within a house, as an example, 25% goes into capital, 75% goes into our operating account. And we will open the floor for questions. We have microphones, if you wouldn't mind speaking into the microphone so everybody online can hear you as well.
Ted Landers. Have a question. Where does the interest income go for all of our investments that we have, including the capital improvements or the capital projects that you like $6 million? I don't see that anywhere listed.
So the investment interest income that I had listed there is part of it. Sewer has its own part, and then the fees or the interest that we get from the operating accounts goes right back into the operating account, which would be shown on the balance sheet.
So if our capital project money, the interest doesn't stay in capital projects, it goes into operations?
No, the interest income that's listed on the capital here from the POA and amenities, the idle cash, the $12 million that's on the balance sheet for POA and amenities, that would go into the capital, which would go towards our capital fund.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Do you mind grabbing a microphone?
Jason, as a chief financial officer, what are your responsibilities to project how we're going to raise funds next year to cover potential losses? Is that part of your job?
Sorry, Nico, I don't really understand the question.
We're going to lose a lot of revenue next year from the timeshares. So is that part of your responsibility to come up with suggestions, or is that just the board's responsibility?
You know, Nico, I don't think I can answer that question. I mean, Greg was clear earlier when he said that all the information we have for Windham has already been presented. We don't know for a fact or even a rumor whether we're going to lose revenue. And so it's conjecture. I can't really quantify what that would be. But in generalities, my job as the CFO is to preserve and protect the financial aspects of the community club.
Our role as general manager and CFO, we would certainly recommend and advise, but it is your board. As your general manager and CFO, as well, in concert with your senior management team, will certainly recommend and advise relative to any operational projections, facts that we have. ultimately is your board that approves. So that's the governance model that exists and always has.
I still didn't quite understand it. As either employees or the board, you should be working on potential scenarios that may come up in the future and have contingency plans.
Well, of course we do that. We do that in every fiscal year. This year is no different. And again, as we've said from the top of this meeting and have said through communications, we cannot speculate. There are scenarios that can be discussed and can be created that we can look at, and those will be factored as we move along through through this budget process. I mean, that is of course a reasonable exercise, but we will not make decisions or formal announcements on anything that we don't have factual backup or about. So, you know, I don't understand what exactly you're wanting to say.
Can you tell me if your projections or scenarios?
We have no projections in a week. It's been less than a week.
From $1 to $3 million or more?
Excuse me? I didn't hear the question.
If you have scenarios of what could happen in the future to cover some potential revenue, are you looking at like $500,000 or are you projecting out as much as $3 million?
We have not started any of that since Thursday afternoon of last week. We have discussed it. We are certainly focused on this meeting today, and we'll be proceeding in concert with the Financial Advisory Committee and the board on all scenarios that could possibly impact this community, as we do every year. And as we get more information and facts come forward, we will certainly incorporate those into our thinking and in our projections. But we cannot, and you know, we can create scenarios ad nauseum that are based on all kinds of, and not only this year, any year, but we try to rely on our history, our performance, what we know we can control, and then we'll address those items as they come forward that we learn and can't control, and how that's going to guide us in the future. And we'll communicate that at the appropriate time.
It seems like a lot of HOAs or POAs have a 5-year plan, and it seems like we're not getting that done here. Thank you.
We actually have a 10-year plan, Nico. That's sir?
What is the current value of the short-term and long-term debt?
I don't have my balance sheet in front of me. So our short-term debt is less than $1 million. And long-term debt is approximately $1.4 million, primarily leases for golf carts and the equipment, and then various leases in the offices for copiers, things like that.
Have you issued a balance sheet and income statement for the 6 months yet?
A year-to-date balance sheet?
No, 6-month interim. Have you done a 6-month yet?
So
is that available?
We do a balance sheet every month.
Okay.
And so the next balance sheet issued will be through June 30th, 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to follow up on that gentleman's previous question. I think you said earlier that you had financial models. You're doing modeling, right? I was happy to hear that. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
I heard that correctly?
We are.
So you're calling it speculation, but as he's saying, it's projecting based on our history. It's called business planning. And from my experience, not just 5 years, 5, 10, 15, and 20 years out, some general idea of what our infrastructure, has there been any engineering studies done on all our infrastructure to be able to anticipate very predictable things that will need to be maintained, and that we have a maintenance budget that's publicly available to people so we can see that we have at least a working model and can anticipate things ahead of time proactively.
As you may or may not remember, last year, the club adopted and facilitated, hired, and implemented a reserve study in the first time in the history of Fairfield Glade.
I applaud that. That's great.
Okay? So that was a very prudent and proper step. that will be updated this coming fiscal year, or most likely this coming fiscal year. It's generally a 2 to 3 years that you update your reserve study. Again, that determination is part of the ongoing budget process. But that will be again, and that that feeds, we have an O&M portion of that, which is operation and maintenance, and there's a capital reserve portion of that as well. So all of that is part of, again, the 10-year plan that was presented last summer to the membership, which is constantly being updated. In the Strategic Planning Committee, the board, our financial, all of us, we continue to work and analyze that as we go forward. So it is an evolving plan as we move forward.
Okay, and that's available on the website? We can see that?
It is posted right now. It has not been updated because we are in the budget process for this fiscal year as we speak.
Thank you.
And just one last question, and it is related in terms of the Windham issue. They mentioned inadequate infrastructure. Were they referring to just their properties or buildings, or were they talking about amenities or roads or sewer and water, or what exactly were they referring to? And have you been in conversation with them about that?
They are speaking to their business.
Sorry?
They are speaking to their Windham business.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with the
No.
amenities here, the roads, there's water, sewer?
No, we are not part of Windham, nor do we work with Windham.
Okay, I
That
just
is
didn't know
their
what they
business.
meant by that, that's all. I was just trying to clarify what they meant by inadequate infrastructure more
Yeah,
specifically.
and I'm not here to clarify their
so-
communications.
Okay, so we don't have a budget for it because we don't even know what it is, right? Okay, thank you.
Ma'am?
Before starting the Druid Restaurant Complex, which is enormous, did we have any indication that Windham would be pulling out of here?
We did not know, as Greg, our club president, stated, we did not know that information until last Wednesday morning, and then we did not get any further update until late Thursday evening, which was shared with the membership immediately. That communication was very, you saw it. It was exactly what the board received. I was in the meeting when Greg had to excuse himself and got the call from Mark McLean, who's been the general manager for 28 years at Windham, and it was news to him. So.
First of all, I'm a fairly new resident to Fairfield Glade, and I love this community. I love the people here. And I do want to say thank you for a very professional and transparent presentation on the budget. I think it was very informative. I think it was very helpful. And I appreciate that. And I wish you the best of luck in your new job. But here's my question. As a new resident, I saw that the golf is self-sustaining. It's one of the pet amenities that actually makes a lot of money. And I saw all the construction up at Druid Hills. Could you just explain a little bit about what's happening up there, when it should be completed, and what is anticipated to occur after construction?
Sure. It is obviously the former clubhouse was torn down, and the decisions were made, which were largely shared relative to that decision. But now we had a construction meeting just yesterday morning with the general contractors. We walked the site. When I say we, myself, our project managers, Jason was there, Jeff Houston was there, Brad was there, our representatives from our general contractors team. The architect came in from Texas and was there. And so we went through over the whole construction process and where we stand. We are currently slightly ahead of schedule. All of the blasting and site preparation is completed. We are now moving into the actual construction phase of the project. You will start to see where footers are being measured and put in and getting ready to start. And you'll start seeing in probably the next 2 months stuff to start rising out of the ground. They are, again, as I said, slightly ahead of schedule, but we do have weather coming in winter weather and the like. So construction is always a moving target as far as time frame and so forth. But as it currently stands, that building will be completely enveloped, roof and secured from outdoor elements by the first of the year, early January. They are looking at completion of that building sometime in the midsummer months, in which we will then convert into a transition where we have to switch from our current temporary mobile operation of the Druid complex into the more permanent arrangement, in which, and finishing the parking lots and the like, and then work towards a grand opening, which will be, as we stand right now with the current schedule, sometime in August of 2026. Mm-hmm. The only thing that is currently under any approval, the question was, is there any other capital projects on the drawing board or under actual commencement? We have the Druid, obviously, the fire station and EMS building, which is, I can give you an update on that. We are expecting any time now, today, tomorrow, or first of next week, we should have our final cost estimates on that project. The initial cost estimates were very favorable. They were based on about 40% of drawings completed by the architect. Those drawings are shared with the general contractor and the subs, who then, based on that information, build their cost estimates. They now have gotten recently between 80 and 90% in final drawing completions from the architect, which then gives them more information so they can sharpen their pencil and get their cost estimates more refined. That is what we're expecting to receive at any time, in which case we will then move forward with the final approval to go forward with late August, early September is the estimated groundbreaking and construction of that facility, which will go very quickly. It's not a very complex building, so you'll see a lot of activity there happening in a very short period of time. Obviously, there's the Racket Center expansion project that has been studied by the steering committee. That is being further studied, presented by the committee to the board, and more information will be coming forward on that at the appropriate time. And those are really the only concrete projects that are out there right at this moment. Everything else is under consideration.
Sir?
You have two projects as you're talking about. You're talking about Druid Hills, you're talking about the fire department. Can you give us your good estimate of what the total for those two projects are going to be, and explain how we are going to actually pay for that? Is it going to be short term? Is it going to be long term? Where's the money coming from?
So the Druid Hills project, which is the clubhouse, the estimated budget is roughly $15.7 million. Short-term financing is a construction loan, which will be 18 months, interest only. And then we go into a long-term financing after that, depending on the valuation and the building costs for Druid, which would be over a 20-year period. The EMS center is too early to tell how we would actually pay for that. We have the cash available, but we could also look at doing financing as well.
The budget on that, as has been shared before, is $3.2 million. Okay, well, we appreciate all of you for coming today. We hope this was informative for you, and thank you so much for your support.